G'day, lads and lasses, and welcome to another Tune Under podcast. Today we are going to run through some of the Brentford preview, and we've got a very special guest here today, Robbie Peters, who is an ex-Brentford player, also played for Carlisle, so been around a bit, and finds himself over here in Australia, so living in Melbourne now. So hi, Robbie, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Hi guys, I'm very well. Thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast. Really appreciate it.
No, cheers for coming on. And joining me as always from up in very hot and humid Cairns is Craig. How you doing, Craig?
I'm very hot and humid. Aircon is broken, so I feel your pain from a few weeks ago, Mark.
Oh yeah, it is that heartfelt sweatiness that comes with Brisbane and far north Queensland weather. So we have Robbie on. Obviously, we are playing Brentford at the weekend, so it's actually nice to get an ex-player on, get a bit of a feel for sort of Robbie growing up, how he ended up in Brentford and what it was like playing professional football for them. So, Robbie, as I said, thank you for joining us. What sort of like did you feel growing up, and how did you end up? Obviously, we've had a bit of a chat off air, so we may as well we'll cover back over that. So, you growing up, where did you grow up, and how did you get into football and end up at Brentford?
Yeah, good question. Well, I was born in Kensington. Grew up in Chelsea, and then from there went to live on at Wembley. But started playing like most kids in the UK for the local sort of Sunday league side. We used to play five-a-side down in Fulham, and then we went on to form a team that would just play local teams around the area, just a group of boys. Probably started when I was about 10. But where I lived in Chelsea, we lived in a place called Wells End Estate, which was on the King's Road. And there used to be a football pen, which was right outside my block of flats. And in our block of flats, this was the only place that you could play football. And it was open to any age. So if the older boys came down at 16, who was 16, 17, they would want to play. If you're 10, 11, 12, you'd have to play against them. If not, you'd get kicked off the pitch. So I was really close to my house, like literally about 20 seconds away. So I remember playing as a young kid there, and we were playing against some older boys in the football pen. I should have sent you some pictures of it, actually. It's all done up a lot better than what it was when we were playing. And I just remember one guy turning around to me one day saying, "You're really good. You should try and be a professional footballer." Not that set the catalyst off, but I do remember that sort of clearly. And we used to just play Sunday league football, but without me knowing it, the manager of our team was connected to Brentford and was a scout, but none of us really knew that until about 2 or 3 years later, as we grew up and went through the age groups and were ready to sign sort of schoolboy forms.
Cool. It's interesting that sort of you hear a lot of professional athletes. They have these stories of growing up playing against their older brothers or something, and yours is kind of similar, where you're playing up against all of these older kids that obviously you've got that competitive streak to get to that level, but you're also like ended up playing against people who are older and stronger and fitter than you are. So as you start to get older, you start to catch up to that sort of level anyway. So you start then building into yourself. So it is quite good. Craig, anything you want to ask at the moment, or?
Was there anybody who you did play with when you were a kid that made it big into the game as well, that you came through like an academy with or anything?
Good question. There was loads of great players, obviously, at that age, who you thought were great players. And every now and then I get sent the odd picture from, an old coach or an old player going, "Remember this side, remember this player." And I actually remember going on trial at Chelsea, I wasn't really too interested in really making it. Along with, I didn't realise what an opportunity I had. Obviously, back then Chelsea weren't, a Premier League side and all the rest of it. But I remember playing, against people like Frank Sinclair, Eddie Newton. And I used to play for London and West London. So, my county side, Middlesex. So there was countless players then who were all connected to big clubs, West Ham, Arsenal, Tottenham. But with, sort of without us knowing it, a couple of the lads that I played with in this Sunday side who we grew up together, we played in the Sunday side, we played in the schoolboys, we played as apprentices, we played as pros together, have gone on, to, play for their country in the World Cup. Good mate of mine, Marcus Gale, who used to play for Wimbledon with the Crazy Gang and was at Glasgow Rangers and represented Jamaica for the Reggae Boys in 1998. We had, so we knew each other since, before we were pros. So you could say he's probably one of the sort of players that have gone on to make it. But we definitely crossed paths with certain players, but I didn't really have the knowledge to know, I'll remember his name and, in 10 years' time, he was a pro, I played against him. But growing up in Chelsea, and playing in Fulham and stuff like that. Yeah, you sort of did play against good players who represented their county and did go on to play for clubs. But I think it was when you were a schoolboy you started remembering players who you played against, whether you played against a top team as a youngster. I think that was the time when I started remembering players' names and if they went on to play for clubs.
Excellent. So obviously we touched on you getting snapped up by Brentford from the scouting, from your manager, sort of secret scout. Walk us through sort of going through to the I'm assuming going through to the academy there and working your way up to the first team.
Yeah, I mean, back then, I used to play quite a few games for my school, for my county, for my district. And it was only until I moved to Wembley where I used to go and practice. So I wasn't as good as probably other players. I worked hard. I wanted to improve myself. It was the only thing I sort of loved. I think one of the catalysts in actually improving myself was you used to have an old milk factory, which was literally about 100 yards from where I lived. And the beauty of this milk factory was it used to have a roof. So even though it was, smashing down with rain, you could still train and you could still practice. And it had lights. So during winter, I could switch it on. I mean, they would pack away, all the milkmen and all the crates were all away, but they had this lovely area which I could go and practice with. And moving through, being a schoolboy, signing up and then being an apprentice, I think helped me massively in improving myself and almost moving up the ranks. And I used to go running every day. I used to run and train on Christmas Day. So I guess it was just a real solid work ethic, and gradually just started to catch up with other players. Just playing games. And I was talking to my wife and my kids about it. We used to win loads of games when I was young and win loads of trophies and stuff like that. So it was just became the norm. Like it just became something that you just did. But moving from schoolboy to apprentice to having an apprenticeship was the real challenge. And I think one of the driving forces for me was just thinking, okay, I've got 2 years here and I know one day they're going to call us up into the office and they're going to tell us whether we're going to be a pro or not. And I think that was one of the driving forces for me. I just didn't want to have that long walk after 2 years of pretty much busting your gut and dedicating yourself to a craft, being disciplined, not going out, all of that sort of stuff that we sort of know what it takes now to become a footballer. Yeah, it just drove me. I thought that day when I walk up to that office, there's no way they're going to tell me I'm not a pro and I haven't made it, even though in the UK, I think it's about 1% of all the players in all clubs get to actually make it. So
how old were you when you were there?
Yeah, so I started with Brentford back when I was about 14, 15. Wow. And we played schoolboy. And then we got given an apprenticeship, which was a new scheme that started. I was very lucky, sort of going back, I was very lucky. I mean, the manager of Brentford then was a player called Steve Perriman, who played over 800 games for Tottenham. He played with Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Ardiles, all of that sort of, all of those great players. And I think he went, quite a long time without being injured. So he was our manager. We had Colin Lee as our youth team manager. He played with Chelsea. And I reckon the stuff that they installed in us really gave us some good grounding of what it took to make it as a pro. But you do all the normal things. You're cleaning boots, you're cleaning soccer balls. Back then you cleaned, baths where, it would be OH&S right now, but you'd be cleaning baths where, all the pros used to have a bath in, and you can imagine it coming up to, your waist height, and these ball blokes playing a game, especially in the winter with the muddy pitches. We'd have to clean that. We'd have to clean the stands. But it gave us a good grounding, and it gave us a good grounding of what it takes to be lucky enough to become a professional footballer. And back then, I mean, if they told us to run through a brick wall, I would have run through a brick wall to sort of make it. There was nothing that you would not do. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's some of it. Playing loads of games, played loads of youth team, and we were lucky in our club. They actually got rid of all the sort of younger pros. They cleared them out. They must have recognised that they had a good crop. And as youngsters, 16 and 17, we were playing and representing Brentford as reserve players. So we were playing against men when we were 16 and 17. We were actually getting absolutely battered some games because we would be playing non-league sides, and they'd want to kick lumps out of you because you're a professional team coming there and this and that. But it gave us a real good grounding, and we did really well in our South East County League. We went 29 games unbeaten as a youth team. We got to the semi-finals of the FA Youth Cup. We got to the finals of the Southern Floodlit Cup. We were runners-up in the South East Counties League to Southampton, who had the likes of Alan Shearer and the Wallace brothers and stuff like that. So, we had a real red-hot crack and, a real good run. But we were really fortunate with the sort of mentors that we had that showed us the path if we decided to put the hard work and the dedication in. No,
that's excellent. Did you actually play against Alan Shearer then? Obviously, with this being a Newcastle.
Yeah, we had a couple of reserve games. Yeah, we played a couple of reserve sort of games. So as you sort of progress from that and you're a first-year pro, you start playing in the resis, and you go and play behind closed doors. So yeah, we've played, all different types of teams. I was also on trial at Watford as well, which was pretty good under Glenn Roeder, who's
excellent,
he used to be ex-Watford manager, so played in the youth team there, and you'd play against the Arsenals, the Tottenhams, and you'd play against some great players actually behind closed doors, which was a fantastic experience. It sort of seems like another life now, and it just seems really weird that you're you were in that world. Like it's very, very strange. There's only things like this that open it all back up again. And not only that, probably my 6-year-old son as well, because he's playing a little bit and he always asks me a bit of questions and stuff like that as well. So yeah,
no, that's excellent. So obviously the pertinent question is, how did you end up in Australia then, in Melbourne? So I understand that you run a personal training company now down in Melbourne.
Yeah, I mean, look, different ways to look at it. It's the classic story. I met my wife, right? She's from Melbourne, and we met in London, and did all the stuff you do, sort of moving around. All the sort of Aussies that come over to the UK, traveling around, we did all of Europe and stuff like that. And, just trusted my intuition, obviously found love and moved to Australia. But I actually had nothing when I came over here. I came over on a student visa, sold everything I had and had to start from scratch. But the one thing that I've found since living in Australia is that if you're good at what you're doing, or you've got a bit of passion, they're willing to give you a go. So very early on the piece, very lucky. I moved in with my wife's her best friend, and we shared a flat in the city. And I got a job straight away in Rialto, which is an iconic building in Melbourne.
Yes, yeah.
As a personal trainer. And the reason I was a personal trainer is because I got injured and I had to stop playing the game, which is another story. And I had to find something new to do, and find a new passion. But yeah, moving forward, came to Melbourne, came on a student visa. We had to go through the de facto visa, all of that sort of stuff. And I got a job as a personal trainer in a gym. Was there for about 10 years. They sort of wound up. Had a real good relationship with the building owners and the management, and asked them if they wanted me to keep it open while they found someone. They said, why don't you run it? I had a business with a business partner that ran for 4 or 5 years. That sort of dissolved, and they approached me and said, we just want you to look after it. We really appreciate what you've done. The brief back then was to look after the tenants in the building, which I tried to do and build up and build good relationships. So found myself a director of a big corporate gym, which has got a building, when it's full, it's got about 5,000 people in it. So it's quite a unique selling point. You don't have to go anywhere to get your clients. They're all in the building. I've got 2 soccer franchises or football franchises as well for kids. So, excellent. Very, very lucky. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of stuff that I learned from football. About just doing the hard yards, not complaining, just getting on with it. If you're good at what you do, eventually people will recognise it and feel that passion. Here we are today. I don't even live in Melbourne now. We bought a house down in Geelong, renovated it. Nice. Yeah, just living the dream. Got a beautiful wife, 4 kids. So, best decision I've ever made in my life, hands down. Very grateful for it all.
No, it's interesting you say you've got some sort of a little sort of ventures off with the kids for football as well. Bobby, who also does this podcast, he's actually in Ballarat, and he's been trying to set up some sort of youth academies and sort of get the kids involved in football at an early age. So it's quite good.
He needs to yell out. I mean,
he'll be watching this, and I'm sure he'll reach
consulting
out.
for a couple of other clubs as well. So I've had soccer franchises for 10 years plus, and obviously going through pretty much every stage you can as a kid, really, from the boy just kicking in the park to playing for your school, for your county, 5-a-side competition, schoolboy. I've walked the walk through it all. So the good thing is that I've got you know, a good bit of knowledge and know-how of what things are like when you're at certain stages. So yeah, happy to help if anybody needs any help with
No, I'm sure
with
he'll
that
be
sort of
pleased
stuff as
about
well.
that.
Yeah.
Craig, anything you want to add or ask?
Yeah, this is all back in your day, I want to say, when you were playing football, coming through the academy, playing professional. Social media wasn't a thing.
No.
How do you think players, especially young players, react to being thrust into the limelight at a very early age and social media being a very big part of their life? And what was your take on Ivan Toney's little mistake a few weeks ago?
Yeah, look, I mean, as we know, it's a different world. I mean, totally different world. And you know, the eyes are on you. You're representing a club, you're representing a brand, you're representing your fans. So, you know, any footballer or anybody in the limelight knows you have to be careful with what you're sort of doing. But, you know, mistakes can happen. And, you know, James Toney, he'll learn from this, I'm sure. Like other players will learn, and everybody makes mistakes every now and then. It's just a case of, you know, I remember when I played for Carlisle, and as soon as you walk out the door, you're representing your club. Brentford was a little bit different because you live in London and there's other clubs at the time that were higher profile than you. So unless you were in Brentford or Wembley or Greenford or whatever, you'd get recognised, but not highly recognised. Do you know what I mean? But in Carlisle, you walk out the door, you're representing the club. Every little step you go, wherever you go, there's someone who knows who you are. So you have to be very mindful of all of that sort of stuff. And in today's age, with everyone who's got, you know, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got videos, everyone's got this and that. The landscape is a different landscape, and you've got to you've got to be mindful of all what you do, and you've got to, you know. I mean, you're not saying to someone, you know, don't speak about what they feel passionate about, so long as it's not, you know, harming or hurting anyone, you know, in those sort of instances. But yeah, it's a different world, and you really have to be careful and understand you're representing the club. So yeah, it's a whole different world, and it would affect players, especially young players who, you know, haven't made any mistakes yet because they've lived in a bubble and everyone's always sort of looking after them and making sure, you know, the moment that they step out of that circle or make a mistake, it's going to get highlighted massively. And there's always people that are going to want to chop you down as well, right? Because they want what you've got or what they think you've got. So it's difficult, but you know, getting back to your original question, mistakes happen. I'm pretty sure he's going to learn from that for sure.
Yeah, it's so easy these days. I think the media in particular are very much build you up to sort of bash you back down again kind of thing these days. It's the slightest little thing and they're all over it just because it sells papers and it gets clicks, isn't it? So
yeah, I think the problem is that abusers can easily post something and then they can disappear and they can set up like a new or a fake account, and they can repeat what they're doing, and they without there being any accountability. But I do know for a fact, clubs like Brentford work very closely with authorities and players on this issue. So behind the scenes, clubs do work nowadays very closely, in terms of social media stuff, how to protect their players, and they do work closely with them and the appropriate authorities as well.
No, that's actually really good to hear. Anything else for you, Craig?
No, all good. Cheers, man.
All good. Cool.
Yeah,
well, we'll hold it off there for the moment. We'll have a quick break and then we'll come back and review the match for the weekend. So obviously we, as Newcastle, are away to Brentford at the weekend. So this is going to be pretty much one of the big crunch games of the season. Both teams still fighting for their proverbial lives at the moment. Brentford are in a much better position, obviously, but with 2 games more played than everyone else around them and some pretty dodgy form of late. Newcastle are on the up. They've obviously got a couple of games in hand. This game here, if Newcastle win, they can actually go above Brentford and still have like 2 games in hand, I think it is. If Brentford win, then that kind of solidifies them back up the table a bit, gives them a little bit more breathing room. So obviously we've had an injection of some new players who have all turned out. Brentford have had a few injuries of late, and Ivan Toney, who did score against us at St James's Park, obviously has played for Newcastle in the past, was deemed not good enough, but maybe he was one of those players that needed to kind of just get maybe a kick up the backside, just sort of like go out, get that hunger, sort of a chance to prove himself at a lower league club. And he had an absolutely fantastic season in the championship. So had a running battle with another ex-Newcastle striker for the Golden Boot for the season. So he is, I believe he's actually sort of touch and go whether or not he's going to be fit for the game at the weekend. So he's obviously like a huge player for Brentford at the moment, and I think you have missed him as a football team. We'll just put the league table up so we can have a look at see what the form tables are. So obviously Newcastle's now sitting, I hesitate to say comfortably above the relegation zone, but at least we've got a little bit of a cushion now. We haven't lost a game in 6 games now, so this is some pretty decent form. Brentford haven't won in 6 games, I believe. They have had some pretty bad results and have been on a bit of a slide. And Robbie, do you see Brentford getting sucked into the relegation battle? And do you think that, it's still, they've got a bit of a cushion at the moment and they've got those games played, but it's going to work out for them?
Yeah, I think you're dead right there. Do you know what I mean? I think Newcastle, had a resurgence over the last 6 games with, obviously the transfer window and stuff, and rejuvenating the team, bringing some new energy in, some new players, which has definitely worked wonders for them right now. I feel like Brentford really. I think the next 3 games are going to be very vital for Brentford. I think Newcastle, Norwich, and Burnley are the games that they've got coming up. I reckon that they need to win at least 2 of them. I think it would give them some comfort in staying in the Premier League. I think the signing of Eriksen as well will help with this, with his quality that he brings to the team. You've got the return of Josh Da Silva and David Raya as well. I think they need to win at least 2 out of the next 3 games. They lose this one against Newcastle, then the pressure's on a little bit. But I think they've got what it takes.
Yeah, there's been a few sort of weird results at the bottom. Burnley's result at the weekend certainly sort of lifted their chances since they've got a bazillion games in hand at the moment. So obviously, I mean, if we have a look at sort of it went from a 3 from 4, well, 3 from 4 teams that most people were saying, and it was Newcastle, Watford, Burnley, and Norwich, to now Everton and Leeds seem to be really sucked back into that battle. They've lost a lot of games recently. Obviously, with Newcastle and Norwich picking up wins, it's closed all of that bottom of the table back up again. So it could literally be sort of any team from about 7 at the moment, which is great for the excitement of the game. Not so good for the supporters who are going to have heart attacks constantly until the end of the season, or until at least it's mathematically out of their hands. So Craig, how do you see that bottom of the table shaping up, and who do you think's sort of in with a shout of staying up and looks like they're going down?
Well, I'm going to be a bit biased and say I think we're in with a shout of staying up, purely because we are on such a good run of form right now. I think we are one of only 2 teams still unbeaten so far this calendar year. I think the other is Liverpool, which is great. We're picking up points. We are taking leads in games and we're not throwing them away, or we are coming back into games where we've already gone a game behind, which before Christmas, if we went a goal behind, you'd already write that game off. So we are definitely improving. Have we improved enough? Absolutely not. Are the other teams around us still dangerous? Absolutely. And this game against Brentford, I think maybe some people are underestimating how important this could be, because if we do win, we've then not just got a points in terms of daylights, but we're above them in the table in terms of daylight as well, which it just looks so much better in terms of mentality moving forward and players' confidence and everything like that. But there is a bit of a gulf there in terms of that gap with Burnley, because if they win their 2 games in hand, then that sucks everybody else back into it. Hopefully, the 3 games that are on early morning, the results go for us rather than against us, and we can then look forward to the game of the weekend.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's one of those things where Newcastle. I think when they appointed Eddie Howe, everyone was complaining about his defensive record, and that he wasn't a very good organizer of the defense. Since I think the last 6 games, I think Newcastle have the joint lowest goals conceded, which is outstanding. Obviously, adding Matty Targett, Dan Burn, and Kieran Trippier into that has certainly helped, having a more settled side. But their midfield has been very dominant. We've controlled games a lot more than we have in the past. I think against West Ham, we actually had more possession than the opposition for the first time since I honestly don't remember when. So if you look at that, we're doing really well in terms of keeping games tight. We're obviously lacking some cutting edge up front still. We're not scoring a lot of goals, but if we can, if even a point, I mean, will still be okay for us. If Newcastle can get a win, then obviously that's going to be fantastic. That puts us sort of a good distance away from that bottom 3, with most of the other teams around us having some pretty difficult fixtures this weekend as well. So we're all sort of going to be glued to their results as much as ours, I think, this weekend. So we'll have a look through the teams. So if we go into Brentford's starting lineup from the Arsenal game, obviously I'm not 100% sure that we know who's going to be fit, who's going to be out. But, you know, if Brentford are playing 3 at the back, that's probably going to favour us depending on how our squad goes. If St. Maximin's going to play, then he's going to be a massive threat down that left-hand side for us. It'll be interesting to see how they cope with that. Robbie, have you got any thoughts on the lineups or anything you've heard in terms of potential new players coming in from injuries, particularly Ivan Toney?
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, as any manager and any tactician, you're going to always have a couple of things up your sleeve that you can utilise and use. And I definitely think, you know, the experience of Eriksen coming in, a different look, a different feel. A lot of teams haven't played against him lately. With the goalkeeper coming in, I think with a couple of those additions, I think it's going to strengthen the Brentford side. I agree with you guys talking about teams who have got momentum and confidence. You said, obviously, yeah, you know, Norwich side looked really good. They looked good against Liverpool for a little bit there. And you can see sides which have confidence and sides that haven't got confidence. And that's what it sometimes boils down to, especially as it starts getting to the pointy end. I really do think this is a huge game. I think everybody knows it. I think it's a 6-pointer. Again, it's just going to come down to the little nuances in the game from both sides. Yeah, the formations will have something to do with it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. Very much so. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. I think both managers have got their game plans and what they're going to do, but looking at it from a Brentford point of view, I think a couple of those sort of additions can strengthen their side and maybe give them just a different angle or a different look and feel that they can perhaps draw on.
If as an ex-player, if you're going through a bad spell and you haven't picked up a win, confidence is low. How do you get yourself mentally up for the next game? Especially when it's a massive crunch game like this one. How do you set yourself for taking that task on?
Yeah, it just boils down to it just boils down to just hard work. Have you been doing the right things all season? It's very hard in a week to change your luck, your mentality, your fitness levels, all what you've done. I mean, football's a real mystical game. It's a very powerful game. And everyone has different opinions about it. But the one thing I've learned from the game is you only get out of it what you put in. So all those players that are lining up for Brentford, all those players that are lining up for Newcastle, the club as a whole, everybody down to the kit man, whatever it may be. It's you don't change it in a week. It's all what you've done. You've just got to have faith in your structure, in your hard work, in your discipline, in your respect for the game. And if you haven't been respecting the game and you haven't been doing the right things and you've been cutting corners, the game's going to find you out. And the game finds you out in the time where you need it the most. So these two teams are going into, a crunch time. Any of those players that haven't done what they've needed to do behind closed doors and working hard on the pitch and respecting the game and putting it all in, they're going to get tested, and those mistakes, whatever they are they're making, will be highlighted in the game individually, and then that will affect the team. So you just have to have faith in what you've done from the start of the season, from pre-season, all the work you've put in. Eventually things will turn around if you've done the right things from start to finish. You cannot change it round in a week.
Not in a week.
You have to guard yourself from all the noise and all the pressure and all the things that can go on. You need calm leaders. You need to breed a little bit of confidence in the players. You need to shield them from all of that sort of stuff. And you need just to have a high tempo in your training, cut it short. It's not as long as normal. You can't run the legs off of people. And football doesn't lie. Football doesn't lie. Yes, you can be unlucky sometimes, but you make your own luck. But honestly, it just boils down to which sides have been doing it right from the start all the way through. And it doesn't lie. Where you end up is where you end up. So it comes down to the individuals, their mindsets, their application, they're putting it all in, collectively coming together as a unit. A couple players stepping up and being leaders and showing, other players, you're playing aside. If you've got a couple of great players who take the lead and who are buzzing and who show you the way, the whole team will follow them and feed off of their confidence. So, you're looking for the big players to step up. You're looking for the big players to show the younger players what it takes to handle pressure and how you deal with it. You've got to remember that there's a lot of young kids looking at what you're doing under pressure, when it goes well and when it doesn't go well. And you really need to...
nice senior career, senior pro moment just to kind of calm everyone around them.
Settle it down. I mean, a lot of it's in their head. A lot of it in any sports person really is just in their head. So it's just changing the angle of it, and just attacking it. Take every game as it comes. Forget what's happened before. Yes, you have to be mindful of things. Yes, you have to learn from your mistakes. Yes, you have to keep trying to improve yourself. But you can normally tell as a player how well things are going. Obviously, when you play in front of crowds, you can hardly hear each other talk on the pitch anyway. But you can hear your team's songs. Do you know what I mean? And you know when you're doing well because your fans will be singing certain songs, so you can get a little insight of how well things are going. So on the day, yeah, it's all about who's prepared the best and who's been putting it in from a long time ago. And yes, you can have a couple of quick fixes and a bit of a shot in the arm, but still, you've got to really respect the game. You've really got to apply yourself every single game, take nothing for granted, and respect your opposition.
Cool, excellent. Craig, what are your thoughts on the Brentford side for the weekend then?
Well, the big thing is playing with the back three. Last time we played against the back three was Everton, and we were very comfortable that game, scoring 3 goals. Cracking free kick from Trippier and 2 from open play, if I remember rightly. I had 1 from a corner, 1 from open play. But yeah, the back three is actually something I'm looking forward to playing against again, especially if St. Maximin is fit, because having a back three rather than a back four just creates a little bit extra space for him to do what he needs to do. And Pontus Jansson against Chris Wood, that'll be interesting because they're going to know each other from the Leeds days together. They had a good few seasons in the Championship, so that should be an interesting battle on that one. And the midfield, our midfield has been very, very solid lately with a resurgent Joe Linton being the absolute beast he has been since we played Brentford back at St James's Park in that 3-3 draw when he took up that new role for the first time. He hasn't put a foot wrong since. And Joe Willock, he's coming into form just at the right time when we needed him to. And even John Joe Shelby, which, to be honest, myself included, I think a lot of people had written him off, thinking he's just not the player that we need in the squad right now, and his position will be under threat, but it hasn't been the case. And when he had the captain's armband on against West Ham, he actually thrived in that role. Normally, when he puts the armband on, he goes even crazier, makes some rash decisions, some dodgy tackles, gets himself booked and whatever. But yeah, he seemed to really thrive in that role. And he's actually shown some leadership, which, again, you've never really seen from him. So maybe the likes of Trippier being there, showing him how things work on and off the pitch as an experienced player is just working wonders for him too. It's going to be a tough game because we know Brentford have the pace and they've got the intensity, but I think our midfield may just have that little edge in it, and I think that's where the game is going to be won or lost.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where, you know, as you said, it's like having Alan St. Maximin and Fraser on the wings, both fit, both raring to go going forward against that back three, either exposes them because it splits them apart, or it means that their wing backs have to drop back, which basically means we can boss the midfield. And that's, I think, what we did against Everton was we kind of pushed their defenders back so that they were on the back foot, and then we actually just basically outnumbered them in midfield. So we had a lot more control, and the control that we didn't have, and then we didn't, I don't think we won possession in that game, but while we didn't have possession because they were on the back foot, the possession that they had didn't really hurt us. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how the new players coming in will actually boost Brentford and maybe give us something else to think about. So that's going to be a really, really good battle for me in midfield, especially central midfield with, as you said, Joe Linton's been fantastic in that role. We've basically got a £35 million midfielder, the Brazilian international, sitting on the bench because the other three that are playing are just playing too well at the moment. He can't get on the pitch. So we'll go over to our Newcastle lineup. This is Craig's lineup for the night. So walk us through this one, Craig. Tell us your feelings. Obviously, a lot of these are picking themselves at the moment because of the form that they're in. So yeah, walk us through it. Tell us what you think.
It's effectively the same lineup as it was at the West Ham game, as opposed to Alan St. Maximin coming back in, providing he's fit. He has posted a few photos on social media of him in the training centre and everything, looking as though he's good to go. In a full kit training session, which is a bit strange. So I think that's a good indication he is ready, but we'll see come early Sunday morning here. Hopefully that's a good thing. If not, I don't think it's going to be too bad if it's going to be the exact same lineup as it was against West Ham, purely because Jacob Murphy actually passes the ball, which is something we noted in the build-up to Willock's goal. Good bit of passage of play with that one. But starting on the left-back role, Target retains his spot, as you'd expect. Then we've got Byrne and Shaw, keeping Lascelles out the squad. Both were brilliant against West Ham, so no problems there. Kraft, less we say about him, the better. He wouldn't be my first, second, or third choice left back if we had a fourth one available. Shelby keeping the captain's armband, again because Lascelles won't be there and Trippier is out injured. Joe Linton sticks his place in the central midfield, and Willock just to the right of him, with Allen to Maxman and Fraser on the wings, with Chris Wood up front on his own as per usual.
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I mean, Kraft, I do feel sorry for because I think he's out of his depth as a player, and that's not down to him. I can't fault him for the effort that he's put in, and he's never hit. He's always been willing to play for us every time he's pulled the shirt on. So from that side, but he obviously has some limitations in his game, and he is probably the weak link in that back four at the moment for us, unfortunately. So it certainly wouldn't surprise me to see Brentford starting to kind of target him down their left-hand side. But, hopefully the likes of, Joe Linton and Fraser, they work hard to kind of track back, and they can at least give him a little bit of hand on the defensive side of things. Robbie, what do you make of the Newcastle side at the moment, and how impressed have you been with the likes of Joe Linton and Shelby, and in particular St Maximin, since this resurgence has happened for the club?
Yeah, I mean, they've been good to watch. I mean, the Premier League's great to watch, isn't it? I mean, there's so many games on that just entertain through and through, especially when you're watching any of those mini matches when you can condense it. But now Newcastle have been fantastic the last 6 games. New managers come in, new ethos, new breath of fresh air. They've looked really good at home, especially on the left-hand side. They've got they're high on confidence, which is a great thing to have in any sport you play. When you're going about doing stuff, and Newcastle are a fantastic club. I mean, one of the best supported clubs in the country, that are so hungry for success. So, they've almost got that excitement, knowing that they could be on the cusp of this new era. And there's some good players there that are really representing. I mean, Shelby, he's an experienced player. He's been at Liverpool. He's been at different sides. And, all that experience counts. Great attacking flair. I would have loved to have seen Trippier play against Brentford as well. But, because he's a fantastic player as well. As we all know, international, all that sort of stuff, played in Europe, come back. He's got a wealth of experience. So they're looking really good. It's going to be interesting. I agree. I think on your right-hand side and Brentford's left-hand side, I think is where we're going to see a good little, I wouldn't even say chess match, but I just think that's where we're going to see some sort of joy. But again, it could, football's a funny game. It can change at any minute. So you need to be able to adjust. You need to be able to adapt. I mean, we all like to, see or have a game go perfectly with our best starting 11 and, the tactics go right. And there's a lot of different things that can happen. So looks good on paper. Again, comes down to the day. It comes down to individual battles as well. And if your key players are losing the battles, then, the sort of the tide can turn. I also think, you've got to be prepared for any sort of adversity or things that may prop up. If players get yellow carded, if there's injuries during the game. So, a lot could happen, but it's going to be a very exciting game. And I feel like it's going to be a very attacking game and possibly a high-scoring game. I don't think anyone's going to be parking the bus in this game.
Excellent. That leads us on to our final point. What's your score prediction for the game?
That's a good question.
Put you on the spot there, but yeah.
Yeah, put you on the spot. Look, I mean, I'd love to see another 3-2, 3-3 sort of game. It's a tough one. I reckon it's going to be the old classic 2-1. I think it's going to go back and forth, and the team that really wants it probably. I mean, it's hard. I mean, look, in my head, I'm thinking someone could just run away with it and really set a statement and set an intent out. But I'll go for the classic 2-1 to Brentford.
Craig, up to you.
Well, I want to reverse that and go 2-1 Newcastle.
Yeah, it's the safe bet, isn't it? The old 2-1.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get the
I'm not sure.
I don't think we're going to get the 6-goal thriller we did at St James's. It'd be nice too for the neutral, but for my sake and everybody else connected to Newcastle and Brentford, we don't want that type of thing to be played out again. It was too much.
Yeah. You see, the thing is there's so many different nuances and new nuances going into this game. So sometimes when games are played, you know the team that's turning up, you know the team that's playing against each other. They've been really solid. Regular players have been playing. You know who you're going to get. You know the lineup. You can close your eyes. You could go through both teams. But here you've got two different teams. One that really needs the results and needs to get out of there. One is having the results, has had a breath of fresh air, new manager, money being spent, resurgent. There's a lot of nuances, and sometimes when you get those games with these nuances, you can get a few goals because different things happen. It's sometimes hard to explain, but I think there'll be a fair few goals myself. I think it's so entertaining at the minute, and it's just as good as the top of the league, right? It's just as exciting, and we'll no doubt we'll wait and see what happens. But I think there might be a few.
Yeah, I think the form guide suggests Newcastle should win it, which is usually when Newcastle don't forget to turn up or like sort of put their boots on the wrong feet or something. It's like a typical Newcastle will be to walk into a game that they pretty much should and always would win, and then throw it away and like just sort of make errors after errors or get someone sent off in the 3rd minute or something like that. Shelby, I'm looking at you. Do not do it. So I'm kind of feeling 2-1 to Newcastle as well. I do think it'll actually be a lot tighter. I think both teams will be up for it, but Brentford will be fighting for their lives. It's an away game, and Newcastle have still yet to convince me that they are sort of turning the corner in the away games as well as the home games. The home games have been fantastic, so it'll just be a case of make sure that do the same thing as they've been doing at the home games. Try and quieten the crowd down as early as possible, and see if they can come away with a much needed 3 points. But yes, it's going to be an interesting tussle, I think. So I think we'll probably wrap it up there. I know you have to get up rather early in the morning, Robbie, because you seem to start at stupid o'clock in the morning for
I'm up
all
at
your personal training
morning,
shenanigans.
3:30 in the morning, never pretty.
No.
Yeah. So it's been fantastic, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity to come on, and really sort of opens that excitement of why I love the game so much, because you can chat to like-minded people who are passionate about the game, and we could talk for hours, couldn't we? Really about it.
It's been good having you've obviously still got loads of passion for the game. It's been really good having you on. I will leave everyone with a thank you for watching, and if you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and we are available on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So seek us out on one of those venues. So thanks very much, and we'll sign off from here. Thanks very much.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Cheers.